YouTube, how we doing? Pass the Prop is back. NFL Week 5. It's our Friday show. It's our big show. It's going to coming at you guys with sixth place today, guys. We're coming at you with an absolutely great show for today. Joined by my guy, Stu, as always. How you doing, my man?
Yeah, well, I mean, as people can see by my background, there's no longer a Commanders sign. They've shamed me. They've been removed from the wall after our public embarrassment in prime time last night. See already some Bears celebration about 3 seconds into the show. That's what I like to see. But overall, rough Thursday for me. Not only did my team lose, I lost some bets as well. But hopefully that adds that extra spark, that extra motivation to win some more bets this weekend. And yeah, we got a great guest today, got a great weekend slate. Super pumped to make some money.
Yeah, speaking of guests, Griffey Bets is joining us. You are our first guest of the NFL season, my guy. How you doing? How's the season been going for you so far?
Yeah, what an honor. Appreciate the invite. Stu, I joined gambling Twitter 3 years ago. I feel like Monotone Football was one of those goats to me, like the original account. So super pumped to be on here talking football. Yeah, year's going pretty well. Thursday last night was pretty great for me, up almost 4 units on a couple plays. I hit a moonshot in week 2, which has definitely been carrying my year, the biggest parlay I've ever hit. I feel weird recapping my units when I include that I won like 400 on one play. It skews it a little bit, but overall still up on straights, which I think is most important. And now we got a couple weeks in the books. I feel like we can start trusting what we're seeing a little bit more. Excited for this next couple weeks.
Love it. Yeah, this is the time when we got to kind of, read how the offenses are moving, read how the defenses are moving. Start to kind of see the weaknesses and strengths of these teams. I'm sorry, Stu, but we have to recap yesterday. I know we don't want to. Hopefully we just get it out of the way and then we don't have to talk about it again. Okay.
Yeah, no, me and all those guys and that Bet MGM comment guy, we all lost. It was me and 99% of the public. We all lost. No matter what number you got it at, you lost. Unfortunate. At least you knew it was a loser in like the first quarter, right? I mean, it's 20-0. You're like, okay, we're going to see a lot of Antonio Gibson for the rest of the game. So, yeah, I got to just take this one on the chin and keep it moving.
Yeah, dude, I think I was probably one of the only guys in the world betting on Antonio Gibson, just because I had him in fantasy as well. And I'm like, dude, that 40-yard catch just saved it for me because I didn't draft a running back till round 7, so I'm stacked everywhere else. But I have Rachaad White on by. Gibson's my number 3, which is disgusting. We won't even get into that. But hey, hopefully we can hold on to that undefeated record there. But Gibson obviously gets there. He had 3 catches over that line, and a good ball by Howell, getting him that nice 40-yard piece down the line. But yeah, we were just talking before the show. Dude does not know how to check down a football. I was like, dude, just throw the man the ball. He's just standing there, like nobody's even around him. Hey, but let's force it to double coverage. Let's throw it down 30 yards on the field and get that double coverage. So at least he got there. Definitely did not go the way we planned, and me playing Justin Fields in fantasy this week with 43. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. What do you think about that, Griffey? I won't go over into you, Stu. I won't have you talk about it. Griffey, what do you think about that game? Were you thinking Bears too, or what?
I mean, I was just getting a little sketched out by some of the lines. Like, I thought Justin Fields' passing yards was so low that it was a trap, and I overthought and didn't bet it. I mean, I did get on the DJ Moore train. But I was a little worried that Washington was just going to sack Fields like 10 times. Might have been some PTSD from that Daniel Jones showing on Monday night. But I was just weirded out by the lines a little bit because on paper, Washington's secondary is not good. Neither is Chicago's. So I was optimistic both sides were going to do something. But I don't know, some weird pricing yesterday. And then Fields flew over it anyway. Definitely, I would put it in the back pocket, bet every passing prop against Washington. That might seem obvious, but that's like a 4-week thing now. The secondary is an issue. So definitely that's a defense I want to keep targeting.
Yeah, and we even talked about it on the show. I mean, on Wednesday, I've been saying every week, longest reception for wide receivers and longest completion for the quarterback, right? Because it's not just the Josh Allens of the world. It's now the Russell Wilsons and the Justin Fields of the world that are missing this number as well. And I know somebody in our Wednesday show asked us about the under, and I think both of us were like, no, we like the over. Justin Fields is only completing downfield passes. He's not completing checkdowns, right? So it was unfortunate, obviously, for my team at least. I was also on DJ Moore, longest completion. He cashed that in the first quarter. I was kind of hoping he'd stop after that, but he cashed it like 8 more times after that, which is a little bit frustrating. But yeah, no, that was a good call right there. And yeah, just like you said, next week, whoever the quarterback is, we're going longest completion, wide receiver 1, we're going longest reception because, yeah, it's been money this year.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, Stu, I want to make this as brief as humanly possible. I don't want to keep opening up wounds there. I mean, you helped me out when the Packers lost to the Lions, but obviously that's a little different. But we'll get into this slate. We will do as we always do and start out with what is our favorite game of the week? Big screen game. I'll kick it to you, Stu. There's a lot of games to choose from today. What is that game that's catching your eye on this slate? Whether it's for betting purposes, whether it's just to watch, you got to have one that sticks out to you, huh?
Yeah, no, I've been excited for this one since the start of the week. I think Rams-Eagles is my most anticipated game of the week right here. I'm super interested. I mean, we just saw this Washington offense that looked awful in primetime. We saw them score 30 points against the Eagles secondary. This is one of the best secondaries in the league last season. Right now, that's almost looking like the weakness of their defense so far. So I'm definitely interested to see how they handle the quarterback like Matthew Stafford, who's having a phenomenal season so far. We kind of talked about this earlier in the week as well, but it's one of those games where even if the Eagles do take an early lead, I have confidence that the Rams are going to be able to pass their way back into it. I think it's going to be an over game. I think it's going to be good for props, good for fantasy, good for DFS. And I'm just super pumped to see if Stafford and the Rams are actually legit players and they can possibly take down a really good Eagles team.
Love it. Griffey.
Yeah, I mean, well, just to tack onto that, I mean, my hand needs to go to the other side. As you can see, there's an Eagles flag behind me. I would agree. I'm a little nervous about what Stafford with Cooper Kupp coming back is going to do to this secondary. Assuming Kupp is full go, the slot's definitely been the weakness. I mean, they're down their 2 top slot corners. I don't know what they're going to do this week. I know they signed Bradley Roby, but if you're signing a guy off the street, expecting him to cover Cooper Kupp's not an ideal outcome. So I don't know if they're going to keep Bradbury out of position or what, but I'm a little nervous. I mean, yeah, it's great the Eagles are 4-0, but I haven't really felt that warm, fuzzy feeling I was feeling last year around this time. So I could see Stafford going off and Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp both having a big game. So little nervous for that one. I mean, besides that, I think the obvious game is Cowboys-Niners on Sunday night. That might almost be too obvious of a game to choose, but those teams both look great. And I just finally, hopefully, a good primetime game to end our Sunday. I feel like these games have just been so boring. But I think we're going to learn a lot from that one. I don't even know if I want to bet it that much. I'm just excited to watch that.
Yeah, I'm disappointed this week because that game I got Dallas or San Francisco's defense in all 4 fantasy leagues, and I'm just like, you just got to eat it. I ain't picking up another defense. We're just going to hope it's just a rock fight for a little while there. But I think I got to go to the Vikings Chiefs. I'm really excited to see this book giving them 3.5 only on the Vikings, man. Like that is not where I expected this line to be. And when those lines are like that, I'm always really curious on what they know that I don't. And so this one I'll probably be betting a lot of spots in the prop market. But I don't want to bet a side at all because it kind of makes me nervous a little bit because who would have thought at this point in the season you'd have a team, Vikings 1-4, 1-3 here, going against the Chiefs at only a 3-point dog on some books? Like that's pretty wild to me. Obviously, I love this, love the total and stuff for DFS and all that spots. But yeah, dude, I'm curious, man. The books know something, and I want to know what it is because this should be a pretty good game in a dome too. So hope we can see it run up a little bit.
Yeah, whenever you see a line moving that open in that dead zone, that 5.5, you're always very curious to see what direction does it move. Does it move towards the favorite or the underdog, right? Because that 5 is such a dead number that we consistently see it move pretty drastically one way or another. And kind of like you were saying, I would have expected it to move very closely to the Chiefs side, right? The team that we've seen actually be a competent football team this year. While the other side, the Vikings have won 1 game, right? And it was against a team that could not move the ball forward on offense, which is a nice advantage right there. So for me, that's going to be a really good game. A lot, hopefully very good for props, just like I was talking about earlier. And yeah, I'm definitely going to be tuned in. I like Kansas City, though. I'm not backing the Vikings at 3.5. But you're right. That number is so weird that you're like, okay, this is a sharp number. It's landing on 3, no doubt about it.
Beautiful, beautiful. I'm glad that we're in tune on that one because this total is huge. Obviously, 53-50 in the Eagles game, man. Like we're finally starting to see these numbers fly up because early on in the season, man, we weren't seeing many in the 50s. Once we saw that Chargers game at 54, we're like, whoa, what's going on? And now we're seeing a lot of games up there, which for props and fantasy purposes, we are happy to see. Unfortunately, we have to get to all of our picks here. And we can't pick a dog, or we're not going to really have too much time to pick a dog here. Do you guys want to pick one here? Just say your spot and get out of it, or what do you want to do, sir?
Yeah, we can go quick right here.
Go quick, yeah. We got 6 picks.
Griffey, you can start us off here first. You're the guest of honor.
Sure. I mean, I am having a hard time understanding why the Colts are getting 2.5 points at home against the Titans. I'm guessing it's because the Titans have beat the Colts 5 straight times. And Tennessee just beat the Bengals by 24. But I think that's much more of an indictment on the issues with Burrow right now than anything Tennessee's been doing well. I mean, that secondary to me is still atrocious. I'm definitely betting some Michael Pittman in some form. I think Colts have looked feisty. I know there's no moral victories, but coming back from down 23 to force overtime, that's a big deal. At home, Jonathan Taylor's supposed to come back. I don't know, plus 2.5 at home in a divisional game. I'll take the Colts. I don't think the Titans are very good.
Yeah, no, that was on my short list. I like that spot as well. And I mean, I'm coming from someone that had the Titans last week as well. I'm fine. For me, the problem is I'm not going to bet this game because this is a big game where I feel like we're going to learn a lot about Anthony Richardson. And I'd like to learn a lot about Anthony Richardson before I bet on him. So I agree. I think that was very close in contention. I changed my pick from whatever it was going to be yesterday. We're going divisional rivals. We're going the Steelers right here. I've learned that it doesn't matter who the better team is, right? It really doesn't. It matters who's more motivated, who's ready to go. And Mike Tomlin always gets his boys ready to go. So after seeing my Commanders not ready to go yesterday, the other team was out there playing for their life. And it showed. And I know if you've seen any of these Steelers reports, these guys are going to be playing for their freaking lives. And I like the Ravens. I'm high on the Ravens as well. But if I got to pick a dog, I'll go popular. I'll go a little chalky right here.
I don't mind it. I'm going with the Cardinals here, baby. 136, 3-point dog at home here. It's disgusting. But I'm going to keep fading Mr. Joe Burrow until he decides he can play for my fantasy team. This dude's a walking 3 points in fantasy. Can't do anything. Can't move. This offense here for Arizona, surprising, man, dude. They're being able to feed some mouths out there, man. Obviously, you got James Conner out there who's just on one. Who would have thought Dobbs at the beginning? I thought they were throwing the towel in, bro. I truly thought they were throwing the towel and getting Dobbs and all right, you're gonna be our starter. And now this dude's out here cooking. So I'm fine fading the Bengals until Joe Burrow shows me he's fully healthy. And I think this is a good spot to get him here, especially a home dog. I'll take it any day.
It's funny. I do a couple like game previews for Yard Barker, one of the sites I write for, and I picked this game because somehow I thought it would be easier to write about Arizona covering over Cincinnati, not something I would have thought in August. I will say again, this is probably my Eagles bias. Jonathan Gannon was mocked all summer for all sorts of stuff. This is a classic game. Is he going to watch what the Titans do and just blitz Joe Burrow? Because that clearly worked because he loves just playing soft coverage. And if he's giving Burrow some time, then this would be a great time for him to get right. But it's coming from a guy who bitterly drafted Joe Burrow in fantasy. I'm super out on Cincinnati right now until further notice.
I'm really glad you brought that up, though, I want to say, because the only team that's playing, I believe they're second right now in quarters coverage, is the Cardinals, just behind my Commanders at number 1. And that's a soft zone coverage that is pretty much what the Rams used as well. The Rams played a lot more quarters in that game that actually led Burrow to slowly check the ball down. So I completely agree with you. If you're in my Discord, we talked about this at length at the beginning of the week. Arizona has shown some tendency to swap up their defensive looks so far this year. And that's what gives me confidence that, like you said, they're just going to blitz the hell out of them, because I think that's their path to victory in this one.
Yeah, and just T. Higgins up in the air. You could have Tyler Irwin as like your 3 receiver, moving Tyler Boyd to the 2. You'd have to assume that Jamar Chase is getting the double team if Higgins is out. There's so many things up in the air on this game, man. It's just sign me up for about 30 touches for James Conner, because I feel like that's definitely what's going to happen in this one here. And I ain't trusting Joe Mixon as far as I can throw the man. That guy doesn't do shit for me. So Whew, okay, we get the negativity out of the air. Let's get to some picks here. Stu, I'll kick it to you. In the game we started off with already, and I think we're all going to be kind of pretty similar on this one here. So definitely wanted to kick this one off because this is one we kind of talked about already.
Yep, we're going with Matthew Stafford over 269.5 passing yards, minus 114 over on FanDuel. You're already getting a 6-yard better price than DraftKings right now, which is good to see. And I think that's an indication of the direction the market is moving right now. And that's for good reason, right? I've been beating the drum of the over on this game all week long, right? When I first talked about it on my show on Sunday night, it was 46.5. Then we talked about it on the Monday show and it was 48. And now we're obviously up north of 50 at this point, and I know why, right? These are two teams that are both very strong on offense and have some question marks on the defensive side of the ball. I already said I like the Eagles team total in this one. I do think they've shown over the last season and have to be one of the best first half teams in the league, get that offense going early. And what I really don't have any faith in the Rams to do is cover these Eagles wide receivers downfield. I think both Devonta Smith, he's going to be someone I play this week, spoiler alert, and A.J. Brown are in store for very big weeks right here. I think this, like I said, it's my favorite game of the week, my favorite DFS target. And all that comes back to Matthew Stafford and this great pass funnel matchup right here. What is one thing we've seen from the Eagles all year? That defensive line is very strong. We drafted those Georgia boys in back-to-back years. Fletcher Cox is playing the best football I've seen him play in the last couple of years, to be completely honest. And they've just got a very strong line overall. Even Morrow is stepping up at linebacker so far this year. And to me, what that means is I think Kyren Williams is going to have a really tough time. And, Ronnie Rivers is not someone we're worried about either. Most people did not know that was a real NFL player before a week ago. And Kyren Williams has been solid. I touted him before the season started, but still by most efficiency metrics, he's a middling running back, not someone I think is going to break the curse of this Eagles, defense dominating running back. So for me, and luckily McVay is a good coach, right? I think he's going to kind of tend towards the pass. He's a guy that we've consistently seen over the year direct his game plan towards the opponent he's facing, which I know that sounds like, oh yeah, no shit, but it's really not, right? We can really look at this by pass rate over expectation against good rushing teams or good rushing defenses and bad ones. McVay's one of the few coaches to actually tailor his game plan against these bad rushing coaches, which is a great sign for me. And Stafford's hit this number. He's gone over 269 in every game so far, missed on the hook in one of these games so far. What have we seen so far this year? Sam Howell had his most passing yards against this team. Mac Jones had his most passing yards against this team. And finally, someone that I think is one of the better one-to-one comparisons between players right now, Kirk Cousins and Matthew Stafford profile both athletically and in the offenses they serve in as very similar players. We saw him clear 314 passing yards easily, and they both suffer the same problem, a lack of an efficient running game in that offense, right? Just like Alexander Mattison, I don't have that much, faith in Kyren Williams to get things going on the ground. So it's going to have to be all Matthew Stafford. So far, this Eagles secondary has proven to be softer than we expected. Like you mentioned, the slot is obviously the biggest weakness. We've even seen Bradbury start to play more snaps in the slot. And while he's a great corner, maybe the athleticism doesn't necessarily fit the slot at this point in his career. And obviously, Cooper Kupp coming back is great news. We have Tutu Atwell, who's a fan favorite for me at least. And then we got Puka Nacua, who's been absolutely crushing it. Yeah, I touted a fan favorite from one guy right here.
For one single person who's not a Rams fan. Is
Exactly. That's how much I love Tutu, baby. We're firing him up in DFS this week. You already know. But the point is, I feel like I talked a lot right here. But Stafford is in a great spot against a pass funnel team that struggled in the secondary. They've allowed Mac Jones to go for 300, Sam Howell to go for 300, Kirk Cousins to go for 300. I think Matthew Stafford becomes the next quarterback to have 300 passing yards against this defense.
Yeah, I was going to say just ladder him up to 300 if you're feeling frisky. I feel like I saw that at like plus 180 maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I really have, I have no problem running the ladder. Even the 325 DraftKings should give you that one right there as well. And I mean, it's not even like I think he's necessarily going to destroy them and they're going to win this game. I think he can go over 300 no matter what the game script is.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just going to get mine out of the way. Usually I go last, but I'll get mine out of the way since I'm betting on the same guy. But I'm going to completions here. I'm going 24.5. I love that you talked about the Eagles front line. I also like that Kyren Williams is banged up, bro. He just got his limited practice in today, right? He's going to be probably out there for what, 60, 70%, if that. This dude was running 100% of the snaps prior, right? 2 weeks ago, I think he ran 100% of the snaps out there for running backs for the Rams. I trust McVay to get the ball out of his hands quick, because if he doesn't, Matthew Stafford will be on the ground very quickly. So I'm trusting in McVay. I know we both have done that already in the past. I bet on Stafford completions in the past already this year, and it's been profitable for me. So he's already hit this twice this season. He's got his number one weapon coming back. I do like that I saw Puka playing not in the slot last game, right? I think he had over 50% of his route run outside of the slot, which is nice because you can just throw Kupp right in there, and Puka can now have his own spot, right? He's not going to have to worry about, I have to get acclimated to running from the outside. No, he's already just did it in the last game, got enough targets, got his work in. I'm really excited for Stafford this week. I'm starting him in fantasy over Joe Burrow and feeling damn good about it, even though he's playing the Cardinals. But I really like Stafford. I just think the completions, let those guys get some yak. Let them get some yak there, 7.4 yards attempt there, over 60% completion. I'll take Stafford in this one. Hopefully this one runs up, and I think the Eagles pummel them a little bit.
Yeah, no, I like this. Or sorry, I can toss over to Griffey if you want a little Eagles perspective right here.
Well, what I just did want to address, I don't think it's going to matter, and I totally agree with both your angles. Cox is not playing this weekend. He's got a back injury, but I would say their interior defensive line is the deepest part of their team, so not concerned about that too much. It doesn't seem to be too serious anyway. But yeah, it's funny. For some reason, I always try to find a wide receiver to bet on. And then in this game, I can't decide between Kupp and Puka Nacua. And it's like, why don't I go to the quarterback more? Like the guy who's throwing them the ball. Because, Eagles let up, I think, 5th or 6th most receptions to wideouts, and they're tied for the most touchdowns to the position too. So, I think Stafford, for sure, obviously, is the clearest beneficiary of that. I kind of want to bet Puka Nacua just because I love him if I was going to pick a receiver. But, I'm all in on Stafford. I like it.
Yeah, no, I was going to say the same line you just said right there. It's one of those things where I liked every wide receiver. And at that point, it's like, okay, it's time to go to the quarterback, right? I've made that mistake before. It's kind of hard to zero in on one guy. For me, it's also Puka once again, even with Cooper Kupp coming back. I'm very interested to see where his number moves over the course of the week, because that's a guy, like you said, PPS, he was running outside routes, not just last week, but all season long. They've been very kind of, creative with their usages of their wide receivers. And the only thing that stuck me off of completions, I'll say, is that I do like the downfield passing ability this team has. I mean, Stafford is just generally a downfield playmaker. We have Tutu who's running those downfield acts. And then we also know Van Jefferson's going to get 240 air yard targets like once every couple weeks that he just magically lucks himself into as well. So for that reason, I just trust the big playability of this team, where I think both will cash over, but I think that gave me the edge on yards over completions.
Yeah, I just don't know if he's going to have enough time to let those guys get down there. I've just seen him. He's not as mobile as he once was, right, with the Lions. He's pretty much stuck in the pocket, not running too much. And also, I've kind of been digging Tyler Higbee getting those little 5-yard turnarounds, baby. I love those. Those are my favorite. Those are DFS favorites right there. Just fill me up with, give me a point. Just catch that ball for 5 yards, fall over, baby. We love that.
You guys are stealing my lines. I was going to say I get to benefit from the deep play, but you get to benefit for the 8 for 35 stat line Tyler Higbee's about to put up once again right here.
I love it. Well, let's get it over to our guests here and start us off. We talked about this game a little bit. Obviously, me betting on that dog. I like this spot for you, my man. Let's take it away.
Yeah, I think, Stu, I know we were both on Rondale receptions last week. That was pretty painful to watch 2 other receivers get 7 instead, and Zach Ertz get 6. Clearly, Michael Wilson has taken over this wide receiver 2 role in Arizona. He's been awesome. Side note, I just love betting on long catches, especially if you're watching the game. I just think it's so much fun to watch a quarterback uncork one and hope it's your guy on the other end. So that's definitely been one of my favorite props to bet. And I hit both last night, so I was thinking of doing it again on Sunday. First one being Michael Wilson on the Cardinals. Pretty simple reasoning. The Bengals secondary is tied for the 7th most 20-plus yard passes allowed. And they're right under, they're 11th in yards per pass attempt. So those are the 2 metrics I tend to look at on a defense if I'm going to target somebody. And then I find Michael Wilson, I think he's been targeted, I should have brought this up, but 5 or 6 times, 20-plus yards down the field already. His average depth of target is 16 on the dot. And I think he's averaging almost 17 yards per catch. So that's his role, is get down the field, get targeted. And he's flown over this line in 3 straight weeks. I like his normal receiving yardage over as well, but a long catch at 18.5, I just think is too low for what his role is in this offense. Let me bring up what his actual, I should have had it up, what he's hit in the last couple games here. Michael Wilson. Yeah, so he had 33 long last week, a 69 in week 3, and a 21 in week 2. And yeah, he's just getting targeted so often down the field. So against this vulnerable Bengals secondary, definitely like that. And the weather's looking all good. So yeah, I loaded that up. I'm probably going to take his receiving over as well.
Yeah, I like this spot a lot. And I mean, too, this is one of those things, if you're a big best ball guy, if you're a big fantasy guy, Michael Wilson being the wide receiver too is not a surprise whatsoever. This was essentially announced pretty early on in camp, to the point where Wilson was even being drafted, fairly highly in best ball, given the context of that offense right there. And obviously you can't trust beat reporters, 100%, but it's been true throughout the season, right? Rondell Moore is consistently coming off the field on 3 wide receiver sets, and it's Michael Wilson that's outlasting him out there. Additionally, it's not even, unfortunately for Rondell Moore, he's now lost his job to like Zach Pascal, who was coming out last week as well. But for the longest completion market or longest reception, anytime where you have a guy's ADOT roughly the same number as the yards needed for the catch, that's always good news, right? Like you mentioned, that 16 ADOT is exactly what we're looking for in this market right here. Should be plenty of passing volume. Obviously, they are underdogs in this game with the Vegas line right here. Definitely like the spot on a little bit of an underrated, kind of sneaky under the radar Arizona Cardinal.
And I think 35% of Wilson's targets have been 20 plus yards down the field or more, which is just an absurd usage rate. I mean, it's just one little target and catch. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and if you see this number get hit as often as it has been getting hit, for like a guy like Gabe Davis or a guy on these bigger teams that are on national TV, you're probably going to see it go up a little bit more. You're probably not going to see too many people watching those Arizona games that start at 3:05. They're stuck between the big primetime games and those new games finishing up. So maybe that's why too, because I mean, he hit this 3 times and it's not even been really close either. So it's like, we already saw the books catching on to that Gabe Davis starting at 19. Now he's up to 22, so can't play that one anymore. I think we're going to just start gradually gabbing these in, and we want to get them before the books move them too much. So I like this spot. I'll definitely be tailing you on this one for sure.
Speaking of primetime, if I could just segue to my other one, I'm a little surprised about Alan Lazard's line so low also, especially after watching. I thought Zach Wilson looked pretty good on Sunday Night Football, and Lazard was getting targeted deep a lot. I think his ADOT is also around 16, and he's averaging, again, I think 16.9 yards per catch. His longest reception is only 17.5. And shameless plug for a second, on my Substack, which is pinned on my Twitter, I've been manually tracking these 20-plus yard passes allowed. I haven't found them anywhere else. If you know and I can stop doing this, please let me know. But I've been manually going game by game and tracking this, and yeah, Denver's tied for the 4th most long passes allowed. The secondary is horrible, and they're allowing the most yards per pass attempt. So Lazard's role is pretty clear. I like Garrett Wilson also. He's going to get more targets, but when the ball's being thrown to Lazard, it's down the field. So this line feels way too low to me.
Yeah, I mean, hey, Justin's a Packers fan. He saw very similar usage last year as well. I mean, we played Lazard's longest reception. I believe I played it twice on the show last year, right? For that same exact reason of kind of the guy does 2 things, really. He blocks extremely well. He's one of the best blocking wide receivers in the league, which obviously bolsters his snap share and keeps him out there, which is good. You need snaps to get targets, right? But then beyond that, he's going downfield. He's kind of, extending the field a little bit. Garrett Wilson has been running more of those underneath routes just because you need to get him the ball, especially when Zach Wilson is the quarterback. I like this spot a lot right here. It's against the worst defense in the league. I mean, I don't know how you justify anyone else being the worst defense in the league after some of these performances recently, whether it's letting Justin Fields have his best career performance to date. Luckily, we broke that last night, or the 70-point game with the Miami Dolphins. Definitely like this look. Definitely want to get some Jets exposure on offense this week, no matter how ugly it may seem.
Yeah, no, and Stu, I already talked about him. I already talked about my boy Zach Wilson. I might as well get into mine as well, because I think it kind of shows just how much this is his role, right? Because I have Mr. Zach Wilson completions. Again, I'm going to completions. They're 18.5. Zach Wilson on the year, 5.8 yards per attempt, right? And this dude is averaging 15 yards down the field for Lazard. So he is literally like the only guy going deep. Almost all of these spots that he's doing is those little screen passes off to the running back, or he's doing the 2-yard pass to Randall Cobb. Because guess what? Seeing Lazard do that last year, Randall Cobb runs 2-yard balls across the middle. That's all he does. I don't even think he has another route in his tree, to be honest. But I really like Wilson here. Obviously, last week he looked pretty good. 28 completions, 39 attempts. I was on this same exact line last week. It was plus money. And now we're getting it here in a much, much better matchup. I thought the Jets would be a tad bigger favorite just because their defense is significantly better, but we're only seeing a 2-point spread. And I think Nathaniel Hackett's going to go at Mr. Payton here, baby. Sign me up. Wilson's going to be chucking that ball around the field. I obviously think that Garrett Wilson's going to be getting a ton of targets. 14 targets last week out of 39 attempts is something you want to see from a top-end guy. You also have Tyler Conklin across the middle running those super short routes that we can definitely just see the checkdowns. We didn't see as much passes to the running backs outside of Michael Carter in those 2-minute drills, which, again, hey, they count for the same exact thing here, right? All I need is a couple little dump downs because I love it. Michael Carter gets like a 2-yard screen, and they run it so often. Every time he's out there, he's getting a target, which I love. And hopefully I don't have to see Dalvin Cook on the field again. I don't even want to get started on that. I don't want to see him on the field. That man is so inefficient. It's terrible. But obviously you got Lazard down the field, stretches it out. I think Wilson's coming in for a day here. I told it to Stu, when I win that millie, starting Zach Wilson, running that stack, people talking slander on this. I don't give a shit if he's good for the year. Let's be good for 1 week, baby. That's all I need. That's what my bet's for. He's going to be running my DFS quarterback. I'm excited, baby. I'm riding that hype train. I'm going to take it to the bank.
Yeah, I mean, it's Zach Wilson. You know, I just want to PSA anyone that tells this bet, you are betting on Zach Wilson. I know it says Wilson. There's a lot of Wilsons. There's Russell. There's a lot of guys out there. You're betting on Zach Wilson. So that's a commitment this week. But unfortunately, it's kind of hard to hate on it too much. I mean, we just kind of discussed how we think of this Broncos defense right here. And like you mentioned, I mean, with his inconsistencies throughout the course of his career, they have developed a playbook where the completions really can stack up, like you mentioned, whether it's to the running backs. I mean, we could see like 8 of these alone go to the running back position, a nice 4 or 5 going to Tyler Conklin and CJ Uzomah as well. And then obviously we know Garrett Wilson, like I mentioned a second ago, they've been getting, if you look on next gen stats, you look at his route tree developed with Zach Wilson versus other quarterbacks. He's running shallow routes. I mean, he's getting downfield sometimes, but they're trying to get the ball in his hands as much as possible and let the playmakers make plays because Zach Wilson is not a playmaker. So it's scary, but I like the spot.
Man, I felt like such an idiot for not betting Drake London touchdown in London last week. Would it be as simple as betting Russell, Zach, and Garrett to all find the end zone in this game? A little Wilson parlay? I mean,
if I'm going to go in as far as I'm in right now on Zach Wilson, I hope he has 4, baby. That's all I'm saying. That's how deep I am in this shit. And oh my God, dude, if that happens, I feel like I'm surprised DraftKings ain't got a promo for that already, dude. They put out some other weird shit for Taylor Swift. Why don't you do that? That's actually football players.
Yeah, the PR interns are slacking right now. Social media guys, pick it up. Let's go. Because I agree, the Wilson touchdown parlay. I mean, the odds on that have got to be insane. I don't know if anyone in chat can put that together right now, but I don't know. That would be the best cash we've ever seen on this show. If the Wilson parlay somehow came together, I would love that.
I might have to. I did bet Garrett Wilson to score on Barstool. He was like plus 210 to score, which just felt crazy for how bad this Broncos secondary is and how much he's targeted.
I mean, the red zone playbook is fuck it, throw it up there to him. Hopefully he can bring it down, and it's worked so far this season.
Yeah, and also we just saw Breece Hall cook last week, and he still only touched the ball like 8 times. So if that's going to be the case from now on, dude, I just don't understand it, because last week he had what? He just burst a 40-yard run. I don't think he ran the ball after that the whole rest of the game. He busts off a 40-yard run, and then I don't think he ran the ball after that, which is just crazy to me. Absolutely crazy here. So enough from this game. I know Stu doesn't want to keep talking about this puke game being the Jets here. I know, Stu. Let's get to a little bit better game, and we'll get to your final pick. You're finishing it off here, getting the last one in here. So let's do it.
Yeah, sounds good. Normally they put me first because I talk the longest, but I get to end it off right here. We're going CeeDee Lamb over 5.5 receptions. Lions money line, getting this one at plus money over on FanDuel right now. We've seen the rest of the market have Lamb at 6.5 receptions, which in my opinion is the correct number. And we've seen, obviously, FanDuel, the only book currently carrying the 5.5 number. This isn't an alt reception, by the way. I know some people don't have that in their state. This is just his default number right here. And I was really looking forward to it. I was really hoping,
61 to 1 on that. Got a guy doing that quick. We got that quick.
Yeah, not too bad at all right there. But for CeeDee Lamb right here, like I was mentioning, obviously 5.5 receptions over on FanDuel Sportsbook. We've been going at the 49ers in terms of wide receiver props a decent amount this season. And it's what we always talk about in the show. It's wanting to be on the same side as the coaching staff, right? You don't want to be on the same side as fantasy football Twitter screaming about their guy not playing enough. You want to be trying to be in tune with the coaches as much as possible. And the 49ers defensive philosophy over the last year and a half is keep everything in front of us, right? Let's keep everything in front of us. And because of that, because of the design of their phenomenal defense, slot wide receivers and wide receivers that are working mostly over the middle have absolutely reaped the benefits of that, right? And CeeDee Lamb is a diverse wide receiver. He can play on the outside, he can play on the inside. But in my opinion, he's at his strongest when he is running routes from the slot. I would expect to see a decent amount of that in this matchup right here. I know the historical numbers so far in the season are not good for Lamb. I believe he's only hit this in one game so far this season. But in my opinion, I think looking too much into stuff like that can, really drive you away from really good props right here. And at the end of the day, I think this is a really good prop. The targets have still been consistent, right? Averaging 7 targets per game on the season. The clear wide receiver one. It's not like Brandon Cooks has come in and lit the world on fire or anything like that. He is still clearly the number one target in this offense. What I like is really, we've seen Tony Pollard carry an insane workload so far this year, to really everyone's surprise. I mean, I was thinking all offseason they were going to bring in a running back too to supplement that workload. Is Tony Pollard, big enough, physical enough to deal with 22 carries a game? Apparently, this coaching staff thinks so. Unfortunately, the 49ers defense is not the team to do that against, right? This is one of the best rush defenses in the league, not only this season, but something we've seen in back-to-back years. A great linebacker core, as well as going to really mitigate those tight ends and running back receptions. Also, safety core is very fast as well out there. So for me, I think wide receivers continue to be the market to take advantage of the 49ers. And I think CeeDee Lamb is kind of the only wide receiver on this team with a pulse, right? I mean, I'm really not interested in betting on Michael Gallup. I think he's doing better this season, but still by most metrics, he rates out in terms of separation, in terms of getting open, as one of the worst wide receivers in the league. And like I said, Brandon Cooks hasn't really been lighting the world on fire. So for me, I see this being a little bit, I think Dallas gets a little staggered on offense. I think they're not very well coached, right? They lost their offensive coordinator, and I don't think they've gotten an upgrade this offseason, right? I don't think I've been super impressed by this coaching staff so far. And I think generally when things tend to stagger, you really need to lock in on your wide receiver one. I think they're going to get the ball into his hands very easily. I know yards is cashed at a higher rate than receptions has this year, but we got to remember the 49ers are the best team in the league at limiting explosive plays. They allow absolutely nothing downfield. They're great keeping everything in front of them. And for that reason, I think we see Lamb's ADOT really reduced in this one. I think he's going to get a couple downfield targets, but for me, I'm much more comfortable that he also gets, 3-4 targets of 10 or less air yards, which is really important for locking in those high catch rate passes, right? I want a high probability pass. I don't want a 40-yard bomb, right? 40-yard bomb, that's more Michael Gallup. These other guys, he's going to get some chances downfield, but generally the conversion rate on these deep passes is much worse. So for me, I think this 49ers defense is really going to force them into an offense where they have to take what's in front of them. And I think CeeDee Lamb is going to be the clear number one target in this offense. Number one first read, over 30% first read target share so far this year. Dak really hasn't been asked to drop back and do too much this season. I think we're really going to have to see that in this primetime game.
Perfect.
I had a feeling you were going to be on CD when I saw that he's playing in the slot at like 72% of his snaps. I know we've both been betting slot receivers against his defense all year. And we'll just forget about Rondale Moore last week.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is Rondale Moore was not guaranteed to play. CeeDee Lamb's at least guaranteed to play. He's going to be out there,
Definitely.
Right? I mean, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Rondale Moore, obviously, that was a stab in the heart last week. Once again, seeing Zach Pascal taking his snaps, former Colts practice squad wide receiver, was like, oh my God. But this week, I'm not scared of CeeDee Lamb losing his job to Zach Pascal, especially when Mike McCarthy is over there shivering when they're down 14-3. He's just attempted his second 56-yard field goal of the game. They've missed it, unfortunately. They're in a negative game script. And now we just got to screen past CeeDee Lamb, the ball until we move down the field. I think that's a fairly realistic, outcome that we could see in this one.
Yeah, it's weird though, because the data gets skewed, like you said, talking about a couple of these games where he doesn't do too much. Well, you don't need to do too much when you win 38-3 and 40-0, and your defense scores 2 touchdowns in both those games, turn them over in positive territory, and you're up huge. He doesn't even have to do anything there. So really, he's only had 2 games really where he actually needed to do something, right? And obviously the Cardinals game didn't go as planned there. But yeah, so those 2 games, you can kind of almost throw them out because they didn't have to do anything in the second half. Defense scores the touchdown, gets 2-3 picks, and continues to be just carrying my fantasy team, even though they're probably get smoked this weekend here. The defense at least. So Brian brings up he's putting 10 cents on the Wilson parlay. Also seeing fish this weekend, so the vibes for it are high. If they play Wilson Saturday night, I'll put a whole $1 on it. Hey, I like it, dude. Hey, I spent $1 on worse things, right?
No, I like it. I like that. Now we've got not only the narrative parlay, now we've got the correlation in chat as well right here with if they play Wilson. Okay, I'm rooting for it. I don't know what that means, but I'm rooting for it.
We have a kid named Coop, the guy bringing up our other things there. Just a heads up, Commanders got Atlanta next week. Oh my God,
barf.
That's you might as well just take Bijan. He's got to break one for that to hit.
Anybody else?
I still might have to do it too, though, because I did say anyone else, and then I saw Fields, and I was like, okay, maybe I can still do Fields. Ritter's worse than Fields, right? But if Fields could crush us to this extent, right, this poorly after his performance in the first half of the year, maybe Ritter does hit Mac Hollins with a nice 33-yard bomb. The catch is like over 26 and a half, longest completion or whatever crazy low number it's going to be.
So true. Mac Hollins is definitely going to be that guy's ADOT's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. We love Mac Hollins.
Dating
back to last year, we love Mac Hollins on this show.
I know we talked about this a little bit before the show. Brian bringing up A-Chain only at 49.5 with such a big spread in favor. So it seems kind of low. Is that where you guys are going today? I don't remember which one of you guys brought it up like right before the show. I think it was you, Griffey. Do you have are you throwing a bet on that at 50?
Yeah, I did. And I also sprinkled on him to get 100 and a touchdown again at plus 1,300 on DraftKings. Yeah, I do think it's too low. I mean, he outsnapped Mostert last week. And even if it gets more to 50-50, how can they not give this guy the ball? The fact he's averaging 11.4 yards per carry is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, who does that? I mean, it's crazy. And the Giants' run defense is horrible. So I don't see why they don't give him the ball unless Jeff Wilson comes back and they feel like they want to throw a Jeff Wilson party, and then we add him to the Wilson parlay also. I know he might come back, but why in the world would they make him a focal point right now when A-Chain's looking so good, especially coming off a bad loss? I expect them to just run it up against this horrible Giants team. Way too low.
Yeah. No, I would say bringing in Jeff Wilson and having him carry the ball 15 times would be a big Ron Rivera move, not a Mike McDaniel move. Right? This guy seems to know what he's doing over there. And like you said, obviously we're in the midst of a breakout right now, an absolutely insane one at that. I think it's a good number. I'm just it's a scary one. I think it's going to be a very popular play. I think a lot of people are going to get on A-Chain for obvious reasons from what we've seen so far. And it's just concerning with a guy that isn't necessarily locked into super high volume, right? I mean, he's a guy that we're betting on efficiency. We're not betting on volume, which I don't know about you guys. That is something that does scare me overall, right? I mean, it's just part of betting, and it's part of the way he plays. But it's interesting. He's still, I think, an underrated between the tackles runner. That's mostly what he was doing in college. I think a lot of people see the frame. They think he's just a pass catcher. But the guy can run. He can get in between tackles. He is lightning fast. It's just like, do you trust him to get this number in 11 carries? Because if they're not blowing out the Giants, I think that's a realistic outcome. 11 carries, 12 carries, 13. I don't think that seems super unfair to me. And it gets a little scary when you're betting on that much efficiency. But hey, the Giants can't tackle anybody, which is good news.
But I'll play devil's advocate, right? I'll play devil's advocate. You guys both like him. This dude is averaging 7 yards before contact so far. That shit ain't gonna happen.
That's crazy.
The second closest is like 4. This shit ain't gonna happen very long. I am trying to stay away from him, even though it looks so good. Because when have I ever seen this? Ever? 7 yards, dude, before you're even touched once. Obviously, it's a little skewed from that 40-yard run or 80-yard run where he got touched 50 yards down the field where a guy finally touched his ankle and he still couldn't take him down. But still, right? That's just such a crazy number that, again, he's got 11.4 yards per attempt right now, guys. Like, that's fucking crazy. Like, oh my, I look at those numbers and I'm like, dude, this is so nuts. I've never seen these numbers in my life. And that's betting football for a while. I've never seen a guy average double digit or over 6 yards before contact. And maybe again, this is a great matchup to do it. But I'm just, whenever I see something like that, I'm always skeptical, even though this is literally a smash spot. It's literally a smash spot.
I agree that it has to end eventually. I just don't think it's going to be this week. I mean, his last 2 games, context always matters. The Broncos are horrible against the run, and he delivered, obviously. The Bills are surprisingly not very good against the run this year. I've been holding off targeting them, but it's kind of ridiculous how many yards per carry they're allowing this year. The Giants allowing the 4th most to running backs. And again, in a game, I don't see how the Dolphins don't win by 10 plus here. So game script certainly favors it. I agree at some point he's going to calm down, but maybe next week.
Yeah, and I mean, it's hard to argue with that when we've all just watched the Giants defense not be able to tackle anyone on primetime in like back-to-back weeks. I mean, whether they're America's game of the week or in primetime, it's just been an awful defensive performance. So it's hard to not think this is going to be a blowout also, right? Who's on the Giants this week? I haven't seen a single, DF, whether it's, analyst out there, respected gambler. I haven't seen anyone touting the Giants this week. So it'll be interesting.
One of our other guys popping in here, dropping in another question here. Are you daring yourself to go back into Addison on this? Obviously, screwed everybody last week. Him and Osborne were out there for a significant amount. 1 target to Addison. And obviously, this is a little bit better game script here, a little bit quicker matchup. Obviously, total is significantly higher. I'll throw this to you, Stu, because you bet on Addison last week. Are you going to want to go back?
Yeah, it's annoying that you have to go back at a 10-point higher number when you lost the bet with 0 yards last week. Like, that kind of sucks. You know what I mean? When they you're not even getting really a discount, right? This is, I believe, the highest this number has been all season long, coming off of a 0-point game, which never feels good. I understand it, though. Obviously, we're expecting the Vikings to have to pass a lot in this game. The Chiefs secondary, while it's pretty good, it's still not an elite secondary, especially if they're playing prevent defense up a touchdown and a half, right? It's one of those situations where pass yards can very easily add up. I think Addison's a solid target. I think this is a pretty fair number. I'm personally more inclined, I think, to go to TJ Hawkinson this week, who I think is just going to continue to soak up targets over the middle and rack up those receptions. But I understand Addison. The only thing I'll say, these young corners on the Chiefs, McDuffie, these guys are scrappy. They're playing some pretty good football right now. Addison versus McDuffie, I'm curious to see how much they would align against each other. I haven't checked the PFF left versus right numbers yet so far, but that would be a very intriguing young player matchup that I'd be very much looking forward to watch if it does end up working out that way.
Beautiful. Let's recap here. I know we have a hard deadline. I want to get out of here at a reasonable quick time here, but let's go through our recap. If we got long shots, we will get those in here in a second as well. Stu, take away your first 2 picks, and then we'll get Griffey's bets out here as well.
Sounds good. Starting out in prime time, baby. Sunday Night Football, CeeDee Lamb over 5.5 receptions. Lions money line plus 101 over on FanDuel Sportsbook. Then staying on FanDuel, 1.5 units, baby. We're going Matthew Stafford, almost an unofficial collab on Pass the Prop, which rarely happens. We're going Matthew Stafford over 269 passing yards, minus 114 against the Eagles.
Perfect.
Yeah, so I got 2 long reception props targeting a couple defenses that have been really vulnerable to big plays. So they both check those boxes, and then I just looked for receivers who have those downfield roles. One being Alan Lazard. He's got a 15.6 average depth of target. He's getting targeted deep. He's hit this in 3 of 4 games this year. And then Arizona's Michael Wilson, who's been targeted. 35% of his targets are coming 20-plus yards down the field, and this line is only 18.5. He's also hit this three times a season, 3 times in a row also, and his role seems to only be growing.
Love it, love it, love it. I'm going to Stu's arch nemesis, Zach Wilson, over 18.5 completions, minus 110. I'm going to be rolling on Stafford as well, but I'm going on the completions route, minus 114 as well. All right, Griffey, we're to the end. We're to the end of the show. Long shot time. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I alluded to it at the top, but so far I had to do that Achane 100 yards and a touchdown. I just thought the price when I plugged it in, it spit out at way too good of a price at plus 1,300 on DraftKings for something that's happened 2 times in a row, and it's against a great team to target. It was only plus 625 on FanDuel. So once I saw the price, I threw a half unit on it. If it doesn't happen, so be it. I also bet his normal over and his touchdown standalone. So certainly invested in Achane.
Yeah, this is an insane number for a long shot. By the way, like this 1,300 is a really good price in my opinion. Like when you said that out loud, I was very surprised. And I think the 625 is what you expect because you don't get great pricing on these kind of in-demand players. And Achane has shown that he not only has the floor, but he has the ceiling. Most importantly, right? He has that 100-yard upside. He definitely has the red zone upside. I'm definitely going to be playing Achane in one way or another this week, and I'll be tailing the spot right here plus 1,300.
Stu, what are you rolling with today?
Okay, I got a much more lame long shot right here in terms of odds. David Montgomery to score 2 touchdowns at plus 350. That is what we're rolling with. I've not bet the 2-touchdown market once so far this season because I always look at the price and I go, you're only giving me 350? That fucking sucks. And I keep it moving. And I keep losing when I would be winning these bets if I just placed him. So even despite the fact that I'm not in love with these odds right here, I personally think he should be getting a little bit better for 2 touchdowns. It did make me feel better to look at some of the more elite targets in the league and see CMC at like 185 last week for 2 touchdowns. That did give me some confidence right here in Montgomery, who I talked about on the DFS show on on Wednesday. I think he's in store for a great week. I love Montgomery. He's going to be my highest owned running back this week. And I mean, he has such he has the red zone. It's his, right? Jahmyr Gibbs is in competition for the first 80 yards down the field. When we get in the red zone, it has been all David Montgomery so far this season. And I mean, we got a great matchup right here. I thought this Panthers run defense profiled before the season started. It's a pretty solid unit. That has not been the case so far. They've been gashed in back-to-back weeks. It took even Alexander Madison, who by rush yards over expectation is one of the worst running backs in the league. Even he was giving him the work last week as well. That gave me all the confidence in the world to roll with David Montgomery, who we saw not practice for a full week, immediately come back and carry the ball 30 times. This is the running back one on this team. I think the Lions have a lot of success in this one. I don't think Carolina can move the ball down the field, which is a big problem. That's going to mean more good field position, more offensive possessions, and plenty of David Montgomery.
All right, I have what I'm going to be rolling with. It's not big enough. I don't like it. I don't like that. I am not I'm usually always the longest long shot, always trying to get longer to. I can't get higher than the 1,300, unfortunately. But I'll be rolling with 2 guys that I'll be pretty heavily exposed to over on FanDuel here. It's 719 for me. I'm going to be rolling with my 2 guys this week, which is Travis Kelce over 100 receiving yards, Bijan Robinson. Wow, why did I say Washington? Bijan Robinson, 100 rushing yards. It's 719. Obviously, fantastic matchups for both. We've seen the number 1 options against Minnesota just absolutely nuke them. Adam Thielen had 75 last week. You go back, 18 catches for Keenan Allen the week before that, right? These guys have been getting torched by number 1 options. And I'm going to be going to Kelce here, the only guy over 20% target share on this Chiefs team. There's nobody else even close to his target share. And then Bijan Robinson facing, the Houston Texans, baby. I love this matchup. Obviously, if Arthur Smith had his way, I don't think Atlanta would pass the ball one time. And it's good to have Bijan in that situation. So I actually really like this spot for the odds. I thought it'd be probably like 600, 600. But I'm all over Kelce and Bijan, DFS everywhere. And I'm excited to roll at it over 7-1. I'll take it.
I like Bijan too. I think I might bet his yards straight. I kind of think he's going to score also. He's been getting better and better, and he hasn't scored since week 1. I feel like he's due to find the end zone again.
All right, last thing for the show. We got Brian coming in here with his last question of the day. Kamara over 4.5 receptions. I really hope this doesn't hit, dude. I really don't want to watch Derek Carr throw the ball 4 yards every single play. Just sit your ass down. Give Jameis that day. Give Jameis the ball, baby. Sign me up for some Jameis. But yeah, if it's Derek Carr, it's tough to pass it up.
This is just so like I hate betting on like these shitty quarter. Like he's like how are we supposed to handicap Derek Carr right now? Like how are we supposed to look at any of these numbers that he's previously put up when the guy's playing with one arm right now? Like, and it's not his non-throwing arm, right? He's injured his throwing arm, and he couldn't throw the ball more than 10 yards down the field, which resulted in Alvin Kamara's historic, 13 for 33 performance last week. So my thing is, how is the whole world not on this over right here? And why is it only 4.5? And how do we handicap? Like, I don't know. I feel like there's too many question marks. I think this game is a shit show. It's going to be a slow-paced game, probably the slowest game of the week right here. This is just such an ugly prop. Like, of course I lean the over. We all saw what he did last week, right? His quarterback can't throw the ball down the field, but like, it just something feels off about it. I don't know. This has got to be so popular, right? There's no way half of Twitter isn't on this by the end of tonight or tomorrow.
Have you been seeing that trend of the sort of the negative correlation, same game parlays, like the over on receptions, but the under on yards? Maybe this would be an interesting player to try that out on. If it is Carr just dinking and dunking again, I'm over him until I can't bet on Olave again until he's either benched or what. It sucks.
Just cut Carr and get Jameis in there, baby. We want picks and we want interception, pick sixes, and then we throw 80-yard touchdowns. That's what we want. That's Jameis Winston, baby. He's a fantasy. He's the best thing for fantasy, bro. I love betting on Jameis Winston because you can always bet his pick because it's minus 200, bro. It's like minus 200 anytime you start it. I'm like, dude, that can't be right. And then I feel like his pick six should have been like plus 110 because it was like every other game he'd throw one and then he'd get a ball back and throw for 300. So. Yeah, let's wrap things up here. Appreciate you joining us, Mr. Griffey Bets. Where can people find you? This is that time for your shameless plugs. This is the time right here.
Sure, I think I've already been sprinkling them in, but I'll wrap it up with one more. I'm just at Griffey Bets on Twitter, just how it's presented here. I've been working on a Substack this year, trying something a little different, where I kind of show my homework all week instead of what I'm betting on. I mean, I show that too, but kind of just all the work I do that leads up to me betting, I kind of bring it all together for people and let them make their own decisions. And if people have been just betting what I circle instead of what I bet, they would be having a really good year because there's some names that keep popping up and then I just stubbornly don't bet them anyway. I don't even listen to my own advice on the Substack, but I've been having a ton of fun writing over there. So I'd love some people to check it out and see if it helps your bets.
Yeah, no, and we obviously, appreciate you coming on right here. I think the goal of any Twitter follow, I think, especially in this community, is that hopefully, at least in this show, you learn something along the way, right? Not only have we spewed bets at you for an hour, but hopefully you picked up some information that not only you retained, but you can steal for yourself and post in your group chat, and everyone can say how good at football you are, right? That's the point. We're trying to share good information out here, and the reason we obviously brought you on the show is you have a lot of good information out on Twitter. Definitely would recommend the Substack and any of the other stuff you're doing over there. It's great work. The 20-yard reception stuff is definitely clutch. Obviously, we love longest receptions on this show. Big fans over here. So appreciate you coming on. If you want to find any of my work, it's right below. Monotone Football over on Twitter. Everything flows through Twitter. We obviously have a free Discord as well, and you can find me here on Pass the Prop Monday, Wednesday, Friday, as well as Sportstopia on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Odds Trader at midnight. First reactions of last week and then early bets for next week. Those have been killer so far. I know there's only like 30 of you guys that stay up for that, but it's much appreciated. And we catch some pretty crazy lines at times. So great show today. Appreciate everyone tuning in. And you can find me on Twitter, Monotone Football, baby.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, man, for coming in. His Twitter handle on the bottom too in the description. Make sure you guys go click that and go give him a follow right away. So thank you guys so much. Coming at you guys for week 5 bets here. Hit that like button on your way out. Still 30 of you lasting an hour with us in that live section. We appreciate you. And we will see you on Monday for another round of Pass the Prop.